If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hi, Raj.
Hey Sunil, morning. So Sunil, so what during our initial conversation, right? What I did was understood your requirements in detail. So what I did was reached out to one of my close contacts. I worked with the Miss Pushpa from quite some time in industry, and she has been working on the security side of things with a lot of global projects. So she has been in the Workday ecosystem, similar to me, in fact, more than me. And she'll be there as well during the training because she's more of a core expert as well, and I'll be there as well as and when needed, right? So during the training, what we'll do is make sure all your queries are answered. That's number one. In a way, from an expertise point of view, Pushpa is having more detailed experience on the security side of things. And obviously I'll be there as well to assist or, discuss any topic from a different point of view as well. Considering your requirements, I thought spatially, and in discussion with Pushpa, what I realized was it is better to have two different perspectives and two detailed conversations in a way for you, considering your needs and your demands are kind of not the same of someone who's learning the Workday from day one, right? Obviously, you have certain expectations, and we want to fulfill those as well, because that is one of the objectives. If I committed to you that we want to make sure, right, you are going with the right amount of deliverables for you, right, from the training, what you expect, right? Those are the things which are there in your mind. We'll ensure that is being done, and that's where Pushpa is also there. I'll let Pushpa introduce herself, and if you have any questions before we start, we can discuss those as well, Sunil.
Sure.
Hey Sunil, good morning. This is Pushpa here. So I have over more than 12 years of experience in Workday, HCM, recruitment, absence, time tracking, security. So all this across all the HCM module. And I'm happy to train you on the security fundamentals. Let me know if you have any queries, then we'll discuss in detail for any of the topic. If you have any doubt or if you are not able to understand, you can just raise and then we'll discuss in detail.
Definitely. So I think there is a course material for me to also do, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So if you can access the LMS, right, Sunil, so in LMS, you have all the course content, the material is there, module wise, and you can go through the content in detail.
Reply LMS sites. Okay, I'm logging in. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah. If you go in the materials section.
Yeah, I am here. So I am in the LMS site. Let me share my screen so you guys can guide me.
Sure.
Where is Zoom is always been Zoom. Where do we share screen from?
If you see center of the screen, or if you want, I can screen share for you for the time being, or push.
No, I saw it. I saw it. No, I just wanted to show me so that I do not mess up.
No worries.
I will be going through this material when you are not there, right? So you can see my screen.
Yep. Go to the materials tab, which is the 5th tab.
Okay.
If you see here, we will cover module wise. So module 1 is there, which is having, the content, and there are lab activities as well on top of that. So the expectation would be, Sunil, we will keep it very open for you. We will discuss everything in security. If I tell you, right, in general, from my experience on the Workday side, and if I compare from the other areas or other applications as well, in Workday security, the understanding is the key, not just the work. You should be able to understand, what exactly we are doing, because there are certain terms which are kind of touching everywhere. Any security which you might touch is impacting multiple functional areas, multiple business processes, multiple people, right? So that's where understanding of the security is really important. And initial sessions, like you said earlier, right, you want to complete as early as possible. Initial sessions, we will try to deliver as early, but in a decent pace so that you are understanding, and we'll make sure that assignments are there for you. You go through them, and we will discuss all those as well with you, right? So have some one of the recommendations which I'll have is keep it bite-sized initially. We'll keep it simple initially, whatever topics we are covering. And slowly, once we probably go to module 3 and 4, where we kind of combine everything together, right? Then it will be much more clearer to link topics. So initial sessions might be a little bit, disconnected because there are multiple areas to touch upon. But in the future sessions, we'll be, probably linking those. And that would be somewhere close to module 4 and 5, where everything would be connected. And then you'll be able to realize that, okay, now you have very good understanding of security. So that is the way which we are trying to do. And that's where Pushpa has trained multiple people across on the security side of things, and her perspective would be helpful. And obviously I want to give my inputs as well. So we both would be there to help you in this one. Any questions you have right now with respect to LMS, or any doubts which you have before we start?
Yeah, the other question I have is, where is my tenant access?
Yes, exactly. That's a good question. We are working on that. Most likely by tomorrow, you will get the tenant access. Today's session is more towards the introduction and getting alignment. And then we'll be, giving you tenant access for your lab activities and everything. So that is on me. Don't worry. I'll ensure that you get the access on that by tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. So when I say view, this is the slide. Okay.
Yeah, this is by default. Go to the, and we'll screen share during the process.
Okay.
What all things are there, which we'll cover.
Got it.
End-to-end,
That's fine.
end-to-end perspective. Yeah. Any questions which you have, right? Don't worry. We are very open in terms of, how we want to drive it. But one of the recommendations is, from a trainer perspective, is it's more like a pace, right? Which we kind of follow during the sessions. So initially, let's try and focus and cover certain topics. And then obviously we'll have Q&A as well, for any doubts which you have. Lastly, if you go to LMS screen once, please.
Okay.
Do you mind scrolling up once? Yeah, the discussion board is there, right? That's where we'll be, updating certain things for you, certain add-on assignments, or anything which we want to communicate. If you go through it later, it is primarily, for the purpose of communication between us, right? If you have anything which you want to convey, you can convey. One of the things which you have already told is, in case of your absence or delay or not able to attend any session, you can reach out to Dominic and we'll coordinate with him.
Okay.
If not, you can just update here as well. That's fine. Either it's totally up to you. We'll be coordinating with Dominic in case of anything, and we'll tell him to inform us proactively, so that if you are informing him, he's informing us as well.
Okay,
so
that is fine.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. If you see, rest of the things are straightforward. You don't have to worry about the last one, which is attendance. Session meeting links and topic names, we'll update that. And the session which is having video recordings and everything, this will have, after one day, whatever we discussed, it is getting recorded and it will be available for you.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay. Yes. I would
Awesome.
like that.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, you can share your screen then. That's fine.
Yep, sure. So Pushpa, we can start now, and let's start the session.
Yeah, sure. Let me just share my screen. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Sunil? Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yes, so Sunil, before we start, I just wanted to know, like on security side, are you pretty new, or do you have any knowledge about what do you mean by security? And on the Workday, like what are the modules that you have already worked on the Workday tenant side? Do you know what you mean by user or anything? Can you just say some detail, Sunil?
Yeah, I mostly have Workday programming experience, reports, integration, studio. I do understand business processes, but I do not work on that. Also on the security, once in a while, I know what ISU is. I know the security group behind the ISU. And I have heard words like role-based security, domain-based security, user-based security, but I have never dabbled in that. As a developer, my biggest issue is if I cannot see an output in a report, I want to know what is lacking. If I cannot see an API work, I want to make sure that I give enough access to the ISU So my APIs, third-party APIs can work. And what else? Right, yeah. So, why I know what reports, what fields make a report, and I can build an integration. But if the security is not there, the output is not there, right? That's one thing. And the second thing is that since we are developers, our security is defined by a third party. So a lot of times when I am doing research, I cannot see something. Now, I do not know whether it is because I do not know how to search correctly, or is it because I do not have the security? Like if I'm trying to change a calendar, right? And I put in an option and I don't see any options to change the calendar. I'm just saying, simple thing, okay?
Yes.
Now it could be that maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe I'm in the wrong screen, right? And this is not a screen where you go and change the calendar. Or is it because I have no access? So I want to be smart enough to say, okay, I cannot do this because you guys did not give me access, right? And maybe in a test tenant where everything is open, I should be able to give myself access so that I can do my work, write my code, and not depend on a third-party guy as a security guy to come up and he will send him an email, he will take his own few hours to fix things for me. I just want to understand that if I am not able to do something, is it security or is it because of my lack of knowledge? And in an open tenant, I should be able to proxy in as a security guy and make changes to do my work. That's what it is.
Okay. Got it. Yes. So very well the basic, Workday. What do you mean by security? Don't worry, we will be help you to navigate like how to view a security, how you are able to, what are the different type of security group, and which security group provide access, how to drill down into the security group, where are the securable items, and we will help by the end of this training. We will make sure that you will be able to troubleshoot all these issues, how to navigate to a security, what are the delivered security groups are there, how to create a custom security group. And so these things, it will help you to understand the security module in more deeper way. Okay. So let's get started with this. So Workday security. So for any why Workday security is needed, in Workday tenant, we know that we have the Workday tenant, and there are different kind of security that are for a different group of people. Let's say as a Workday consultant, we will have certain security access. As a employee of an organization will have different kind of security access, and they will be given a additional security to perform certain tasks in the Workday tenant. And hence this Workday security is really required to segregate particular user to perform any kind of task, or whether there are any kind of interface or reports or any kind of business process or integrations. So it will help the user to access certain kind of tasks that is defined for that security area. Okay, so that is the reason that we need a security in our Workday tenant, so that it will help all the users to, in order to navigate into the certain areas, they can perform certain task and activity. What are the tasks they are supposed to do? What are the areas or what are the functional areas they need to view in a Workday tenant? It helps the user to navigate accordingly. Okay.
Right.
So now let's see what are these components of a configurable security. So what is the configurable security as a framework all about? Okay, so whenever we give any Workday user access, right? So the user will have access to the reports and the business process steps or any kind of task. So this configurable security, it will help to configure in a system for a given user what kind of data that they can access, what kind of report they can execute, or they can extract the data, or in any of the business process, like what are the roles they can play in the business process, like whether they can access, they can approve any request which has been triggered by a business process, or whether they can deny any business process steps, or if it will route it to any kind of any security group. So this security configurable security framework, that we will configure certain securities in Workday Tenant, which will help the Workday users to access the different tasks. Okay. So how do we provide access to any users? So definitely there will be different securable items, and there will be, again, there is a via the membership, right? Every securable items via membership in the security group, that will be given a permission to a domain or either a business process security policy. Okay. So directly, let's say for a user, if you are to give any access, it will consist of either a domain or a business process security policy, via which we will give you the access to a user. Okay. And so what do you mean, again, you will have what do you mean by a domain or the business process, right? We will discuss in detail, but as a fundamental right, this configurable security, we will provide the access via different, which are securitable via a membership, say, in a security group, and then we will give a particular permission to a domain or the business process security policy. Okay, which helps the user to navigate what kind of tasks.
Pushpa.
Yes.
So can you? So I can't really hear your voice very clearly. So if you can speak slightly slowly, then I will understand. Right?
Oh, am I going to?
Either you can speak loudly or slowly. Yeah, I'm trying to set my headset. It is not working. So either you
Raj,
speak loudly or you speak slowly.
It's fine for me. Probably a bit louder would be helpful. I think for me it's fine, but I think not for Sunil. Let's. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly, Raj, but not Pushpa.
Okay.
Ask her to go slow. Space out the words.
Okay, let's keep it slow.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I'm
probably
going
the
too
pace.
Fast.
Yeah.
Yes, probably the pace. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Okay, sure. So let's look into the different kind of configurable security component. What are the component of a security framework? Okay. So if you can look into that from this diagram view, right? What do you understand from here? So let's look into this, how a user will be given access to a certain areas, like certain task or report, how a user will give an access via this security framework. Okay. So first, let's see the system users, right? So there will be a group of system users in Workday, which need to be given access to a security group. So again, in security group, there are different type of security groups. There will be role-based, user-based security group. Okay, and what is the meaning of role-based and the user-based? We will discuss in our upcoming session. But right now, just to understand you, for your understanding, it is role-based and the user-based security groups will be given. We will directly assign to the user. Or else there will be, when any access will be given to the user, right? By Workday automatically assigned employee as a self. That is all just standard security. Okay, that will be assigned to the employee. Or we can create our own security groups. Let's say for any kind of, let's say in any organization, right? We have HR business partner. So the HR business partner will be location based or the region based. So you wanted to give this access to the HR business partners for a particular location. Okay. So you create your own custom security groups and you are assigning the security groups to the user. Okay. So that is the first fundamental, that user will be assigned with the security groups. Okay. And again, within the security group, like how the security group consists of, right? So the security group, it will consist of a security policy. So when we talk about this security policy, there are two types of security policy. One is our domain security policy, and another one is the business process security policy. So the domain security policy, which we are giving view or modify access to a particular domain, okay, and we can give access. If you want to give a particular access to any domain, then we can give either to view access or the modify access, okay, and via security policy. Similarly, for any business process security policy. So business process means we have Workday delivered business processes. Let's say, for example, hire is one of the business process. Termination is one of the business process, right? So we are giving the business process security policy consists of who will initiate and who are the group of employees who can initiate the business process, or who will have the view and approve access to that business process, and which security group of people will have the resent, cancel, or the correct, or we also have the delegations, right? All these business process activity will be via the business process security policy. Is it clear, Sunil? Or
yeah, it is.
It
yes.
is.
So just stopping in here, right? So I know that we have only 15 hours to finish this, and security might be a big thing. My focus is more on the first part, the blue part, security policies, domain. Was I, as a developer, I do not do business processes. I am more keen on the upper portion of your screenshot here. The functional area, domain based, which includes reports, web services.
Yep.
That is that will be the bigger focus. So finish that part of the module first, and if we have time, we can go to the BP security also.
For sure. So
right?
Sunil, so for you, the key thing is ensuring the security access from a integration person and access person. Totally get that. Business process would be later only. It is very high level right now. We wanted to cover this one because
definitely
it is connected, but for sure, I understood your point. And in terms of delivery as well, we'll make sure business process component, right? It is later. It is a good to have for you, not a necessity. So we'll focus on the key things which you are there. But yeah, from a system perspective, you see everything, primarily this slide is there for you to understand. Everything is kind of driven via 2 or 3 things. If you see, security groups can be Workday delivered, which you already know. It can be depending on the role, depending on the user. And obviously the main thing comes where exactly you will need to troubleshoot is domain security policy, which is the next one. And after that, the domains, right? To understand, okay, you should have access to this one so that you get access to that field, right? So we'll channelize that. But right now it is more of an introduction for the first one only. But from next ones, I think we'll channelize our focus towards that.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, we have this functional area, right, which consists of the domain and the business process type. So the domain is nothing but it is a set of the secured items, such as the delivered report and tasks, and we have the web service, report data, and the background processing. So these are secured via particular domain, okay, and business process type, so which includes your initiation step, any kind of business process steps, right? Like any kind of actions that need to be driven for a particular business process, or the approval, or the view, rescind, or cancel, or correct the business process. So these are all the business process type, and the domain are consist of a functional areas. Okay. So this is how our security framework, like we have the system users, and based on the requirement basis, we are providing we are giving access to the security group. So security group will have again our different secured via security policies, and these security policies will have attached to our functional area, which consists of a domain, And then this domain, we have to identify which domain the user is looking for, and then we have to provide the access to a particular domain or a business process type in order to perform the particular task in Workday Tenant. Okay.
Right.
So now let's look into the what it is called a functional area. What do you mean by functional areas? So as you know that Workday delivers all the applications in a functional area. So Workday has all these standard functional areas. So the functional areas such as our core compensation or the financial accounting, staffing, benefits. So these are the functional areas that Workday delivered functional areas. Okay. So the functional areas is a main grouping of delivered domains and the business process type. Okay. So the functional areas will, again, it will have the particular domain and the business process type. And these functional areas are Workday delivered and Workday delivered by the Workday, and it cannot be changed. So when all the when we say any functional areas, right? So Workday have all the applications that are segregated into a functional areas. And within the functional area, we will have set of domains and the business process types. Okay. So when you see any Workday tenant, right, by default, all the functional areas will not be enabled in any kind of in any Workday tenant. So based on our modules that we are working, let's say we have enabled core HCM, then you will be able to see all the functional areas that are part of the core HCM. Let's say our we are not using Workday payroll. Okay. Unless until the Workday payroll is not enabled in the Workday tenant, you won't be able to view those functional areas related to a payroll. So based on our models that we are using in our Workday tenant, you will be able to find those functional areas and domains and all the business process for that particular Workday module. Okay. Is it clear, Sunil?
Yes. Can you be slightly more louder, please?
Okay. I think from tomorrow I have to give another change to another headset. Okay, because this mic is just moving, and then that time you are not able to hear me correctly. I have to hold my mic in my hand, or else you are not able to hear clearly. Okay, now is it clear, Sunil?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's see how you view a domain in the Workday tenant. Okay. So for example, we have this recruiting is, so this domain name is sort of recruiting. You can access into it. So tomorrow when we log into the Workday tenant, I will show you how we can access a particular functional area, what are the tasks to access the functional area, and how do you access the domain and the securable items, what are the tasks for that in detail. Just for now, you can just see like where and how do we view a domain and the functional areas in Workday tenant. Okay. So view domain, you can just view any domain. And when you can see here, we have the domain security policy. Okay. So the domain security policy, it will navigate you what are the domain that has been secured under this recruitment domain. Okay. And the functional areas. So this functional area, recruiting and the success planning, these are the functional areas. So this domain is consist of. Okay. And we have again this subdomain also, like for each of the domain, we will have subdomain. Again, those are Workday delivered domain. You will be able to view these subdomains. And we will have the access to allowed security group type. Okay. So Workday, we have the constrained and unconstrained security groups. Okay. So when you say unconstrained groups, right? Unconstrained groups are something, it is open. So when we are giving access to any domain, irrespective of like if it is unconstrained, then all the securable item you will be able to view. you will be able to view or access those many domain for a complete functional areas. But let's say we have constrained group. Okay, we allowed security group type if we have it is only constrained groups, then based on the constraint, whether it is constrained by location or constrained by a region, you will be able to view only for that constrained security domain access. You won't have the wider security to view a particular domain. You will not be able to access. So these are the two constrained and unconstrained groups that will be defined for any particular domain. Okay, is it clear,
Okay.
Sunil?
Yes, so let me just go through this. So you're saying that the domain name in this specific example is recruiting. So I thought functional areas lie on top of domains, right? Is it the other way around? So,
Yes. So functional area is consist of a domain, but
right.
when you view a domain, right, again you will be able to view what are the functional areas here.
Okay.
Okay.
So in
You
this
can
case,
navigate.
so these two functional areas, recruiting and succession planning, have a domain called recruiting.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And
So,
within the recruiting domain, you have all these subdomains.
yes.
Now, I understood what you meant by unconstrained groups and constrained groups. But so when for this domain, it says unconstrained groups, it means what? If somebody has access to this domain, it's always unconstrained? That I didn't understand.
So it is not, it is all unconstrained, but again, we can define, let's say we are creating our security data. So for right now, if you can see, if it is a recruiting and if it is unconstrained, then entire all the domain and subdomain, when you provide this access, this domain will have all the unconstrained security. The user will be able to access, let's say for the career site, job posting, irrespective of location or irrespective of any region, they will be able to access. That is called a unconstrained security.
Okay. That's fine. Okay.
Okay. So let's now understand the business process type. Okay. So business process type, as you know, Workday has custom standard delivered all the standard delivered business process, which allow to perform certain tasks or certain transactions, set of events or certain transactions in an automated way. Let's say, for example, we have the business process as hiring. Okay, so in hiring business process, we'll have set of tasks and transactions, right? We'll have hiring, let's say we have hiring for India, there are certain activities need to be done. We have a, hiring for US, there will be a certain forms and tasks need to be given to a different group of people, right? So we can define again in the business process type, we can define all the set of events and set of transactions which will be performed in a periodical basis or a step-by-step basis. Okay. Again, in business process, also we are giving certain like approval, or we are providing certain kind of access, let's approval or to deny or rescind or a delegation via a security group. Let's say in a business process, we are giving access, like when the HR business partner, when they will perform any kind of hiring actions, right, then it will route it for approval. Let's say it should route it to the approval to a manager, and then it should route it approval to a HR business partners manager, like set of approval step. And this set of approval step we will define based on the security groups. We are not, routing these approval steps to any particular user. We are routing this via a security groups. So for all this business process step and the actions, it will trigger to that particular security groups. Okay, so this is very important to define in any of the business process, whether it is a hiring business process or whether it is a termination business process, based on the actions and based on the approval steps that we are providing, it will route it to a different security groups we can define in the business process. So in a business process, we have the to-do items are also there, right? To-do activities. Let's say certain to-do activity need to be sent to a regional HR. Okay. So based on the country, we are defining again the regional HR as a security group, right? For India or for US, for Singapore, based on a country wise, we are defining. And so those to-do steps and those action items, it will route it to those particular members who are part of that security groups. Is this clear, Sunil?
Yeah, that is fine.
Okay. So let's see here the same, how you can view the termination business process, right? So for example, we have this termination business process where, okay, so here, the business process step, as you can see here, the action, review employee termination, we have the HR partner as a security group we have defined. So this review employee termination, it will trigger to the HR partner security groups and all the members who are part of this HR partner security groups. So this step, it will trigger for any kind of termination event that occur for any employee. Similarly, we have, let's say, another step like termination, involuntary termination. Again, we have this approval step. It has been given to the HR executive. And we have the to-do step. Okay, it has been again to the manager and successor partner. Right.
I think, yeah, Pushpa, for Sunil's understanding, I think he's aware of all these things. But yeah, these are different roles which we define, Sunil, very high level. We define usually in the business process policy. You know, so once rules, those roles are there, those are defined that, you know, what is the purpose of that specific role. For example, HR partner would be able to, you know, do some actions or, you know, approval steps and all that. Again, that is not initially part, that part is not so important for you, but high level, if I want to sum up for Pushpa, we define certain access only at the business process level, and that's where only these additions are happening. So this is very different. How do you define security from the usual accesses from a functional area and domain? This is very specific to a business process, and for individual business processes, we define, okay, this person is this role is, you know, there for action, or this role is for approval and all that. But right now, considering your need, we can skip this one. Very high level, we can go through it in the later part. But in single line, we define business process security at an individual business process only, at the individual business process policy. It is not a tenant-wide thing. It is individual to a business process function. Okay.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah, Pushpa, please carry on. We can go ahead with the next one.
Okay. So now let's discuss about the security groups, right? So security group, again, it is a set of the system users used to grant access to Workday. So whenever we give any access to any user, right, that is via our security group. Again, the security group will have the secure domains and the securable policies that are applicable based on the membership. The user will be able to access the particular same area in a Workday tenant via the security groups. So we have, again, it depends. We have the role-based and user-based security groups, right? So user-based means we are, for any kind of user, we are defining any security. Let's just give an example. We have a report writer access, right? So the report writer access, we just go to any worker, we go, and then we can just add the report writer access to a worker, then that worker will be able to access the reporting area. Okay, for that, in our Workday tenant, all kind of reporting that to run any report or to view any custom report, run or schedule any report. So which comes under the report writer security group, we can assign to any user via the security groups, all these kind of user-based security groups. Okay.
So report writer is a user-based security group.
No, I mean to say, how do you assign any security group to a user? Okay.
Okay.
We can define via a we can define via a user-based and role-based also. Role-based, like for a particular role, right? Let's say for a business analyst role. Okay, so for a business analyst role, we define certain security areas. Okay, and certain that kind of security areas, whenever we are assigning to any employee, right? Based on the role, those access will be given to the user. Okay, not based on the user specific. Let's say I'm just going to like how the user based and role based securities are assigned to any user. Okay. So whenever we have the configuring security in Workday, right, we have to first look for a user, like how we have to give the security, how we are assigning the security group, whether we want to add or remove any security group for any domain or the business process. Okay, whether we want to grant any access or we wanted to remove any access. So based on that, we configure the securities, and then this security group will be assigned to a user, to a worker, I'm to say, to a worker in Workday tenant. Is that clear, Sunil?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, we will see. Okay. So my question I asked you was, you were talking about report writer. What is that? Is that a security group? What is that? Like if I have someone in my team, I want him to have access to write reports. What do I do to this person? I give him a security group called report writer group. What is it?
Yes, so we will have the security report writer as a security group, right? Security group.
It's a user based or role based?
It is a user based. Again, you can give, you can prepare, and then you can just provide that access to a user.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and to give a different perspective to your thing as well, Sunil. So user based is very specific to people like Workday admins or report people who are very specific and they are given access ad hoc. Imagine a scenario, hypothetical scenario, obviously. It can be a role based approach as well, where you tell every vice president in the company, every vice president and above will get a access to report creation. For example, the company itself is working on Workday development, for example, right? The company itself is producing, let's talk about Workday itself, right? Workday in general, their Pleasanton office, all the employees there get trained on Workday. Okay, so the expectation is that they should have access to Workday, and they should understand Workday, they should troubleshoot and build products. Report writer, being the virtue of it, is a user based one only in most of the cases. But technically in Workday as an organization, if the Workday company says anyone who's manager and above should have report writer access, then whoever is handling the security in Workday system in Workday company can technically do it using a role based. What it will tell is anyone who's a manager will get report writer. So that's a very hypothetical scenario, but for an understanding, I'm just giving a different perspective. Hope it's clear. In most of the cases, Sunil, if something is very unique, right, anything which you want, anything extra for your Workday team member, most likely it would be a user-based security group only, because rest of the groups are more towards the business function. For example, employee, manager, HR partner, absence partner, timekeeper, payroll admin, benefits partner, all those people are actually company people who have certain roles provided, right? And because of the virtue of that role, benefits person should have access to benefits information only. Payroll person should not be having access to certain things. For example, the person should not be able to see maternity leave or paternity leave or any other leave. The person should be limited to payroll only. So those typical roles are role based. But in most of the cases, Sunil, if I tell you, you being a Workday manager, you being a Workday team lead, if you are handling a team and you want access to your team, 99.99% cases, you would have to go to a user-based security group and then see which one is the apt one. And in future classes, you will understand that which one to choose. Report writer is a straightforward one, but let's talk about some role which is a security admin or a configuration admin, right? These two roles can be conflicting. These two roles can have overlapping things as well. But what is the difference, right? There could be roles only for view access as well. So those are the things which we'll talk about later. But to your answer your questions, in general, whoever is configuration expert or whoever is handling the Workday system, most of the cases they will have user based only, very specific ones only. Okay.
Okay.
Hope that's
Okay.
helpful. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so now let's understand what is the configurable security provide us. Okay, so why do we need this configurable security, and what do we do in a some configurable security framework? So let's for example, we have a Workday tenant, right? So Workday has all the delivered content. Workday has defined all the delivered content in any tenant. Okay, so Workday will just whenever we enable any kind of functional areas, right? It is all why it is everything will be accessible. But when we are for a customer defined tenant, right? For a customer owned tenant, Workday tenant, we wanted to give certain kind of functionality access to certain group of people. Let's say we have an implementer and we have a HR business partner, or we have the business analyst. So based on the roles and different type of users, we need to give particular access to this Workday tenant content. Okay. For example, as an employee, right? So as an employee in the Workday tenant, the employee will have a very limited access to view their own data based on the modules that we have enabled, we have implemented in the tenant. The employee will have very limited access to view their own data, view their profile, let's say the first name, last name, for all the personal information, or the address detail and the bank detail. So employee will have the view access to these areas which we have enabled. Okay. But let's say for a implementer access, right? For a implementer access, or for a the report writer or admin time tracking for example, a time tracking administrator point of view, right? We are creating a security group which will allow them to perform certain tasks, to access the particular domain and certain functionalities in Workday. Okay, so that is how we create our own security groups. And for our customer owned tenant, we will give a particular access to a different group of people. And based on the necessity, we are creating those custom security groups, and we will provide the access to the users in any tenant. Okay. Is it clear, Sunil?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So when we say that Workday defined contents, right? So we cannot change any Workday delivered item that are in a domain, and we cannot add any new business process type also, which are delivered by Workday. But in a customer defined security group, we can create our own security group via giving a domain security policies, and via constrained or unconstrained security roles. We can create our security group, and we can provide the access to the particular users. Okay, and also we can create our custom business process. Let's say for certain transactions, we don't want to use the Workday delivered business process, but we will have our own workflow steps. We will have our different security groups that will be defined for a business process. So we can create that, and via the security groups we can define a business process type, and then we can also create our custom security groups for our customer defined tenant, customer owned tenant. Okay.
Yeah.
So what does the configurable security provides? So these configures access to a securable item by adding any security group to a domain security policy. So always, again, this domain which consists of a securable items, right? Via the domain security group policy, we configure the security groups. And also we configure access to workflow steps for any business process security policies. We define, we configure the access for a workflow trigger to a different security groups. And also we create our own security groups. Okay, this is how we configure in a security groups.
So usually, let me add a different perspective. I'll probably try to add certain different ways of thinking as well, Sunil, in between, which would be helpful from a understanding in a different perspective. So most of the cases, Sunil, Workday delivered. Just a second, someone is at the door. Let me come back in just 10 seconds. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, Raj.
Yeah, sure. So from a perspective point of view, right, most of the cases, Sunil, if you see HR partner, business partner, absence partner, these roles are already provided by Workday, and they have the right combinations or right accesses. But from a business perspective, for example, your organization might have a super user who's kind of handling payroll and absence together, right? That's where you create custom security groups. You can do, what you can do is smartly payroll plus absence, you can name like that, and give the combination of both of the security groups. So in future, we'll talk about intersection, combination, all multiple ways of doing security. But in general, you need custom security groups wherever you want to add something extra or something less from the delivered ones. If you have something which is very appropriate from a delivered one, you will follow that blindly. You don't have to do effort in looking at functional areas or domains. But if you want something which is deviating from the usual ones, for example, your company might have a manager who is handling payroll, leave of absence, time, compensation data. That person might be a senior person, might be handling multiple functions, and there might be a requirement for you and your team that you have to create a security group which is kind of having access in multiple domains, multiple business processes. That's where the custom security groups or customer defined security groups are being created. Your company might have, and these are in general very the frequency is very minimal. In general, at the start of the project only, at the start of the implementation only, these are created, and mostly the changes would be to existing security groups. For example, you might add certain additional things. Your company have implemented certain function, certain process, and you want to ensure the accesses are right. So there are two ways of looking at it: business process as well as the security, the usual security. So that's where any deviation which comes into the picture, that's where custom is required. And on top of that, any changes to the custom would be required as and when there is some addition to existing processes or there is some issue which is being found out. So that's where, in general, from a troubleshooting perspective, or in general from a day-to-day work perspective, that's where you'll have to see, okay, is there a need of existing security groups to be used, or a new one, or we need to modify existing one smartly, right? So those are the things which you need to think in future.
Okay.
Hope this was helpful. Let's move on. I think Pushpa, you can take over. Just sharing thoughts in between for more understanding. Yeah.
Sure. So this one again, we discussed, right? What is configurable security? What you cannot change the work delivered items that are in a domain, and you cannot add any new business process type which are delivered by Workday. Okay. So Raj, this content going forward, it will have complete in series. So shall we take it in our next session tomorrow?
So that makes sense. So Sunil, what we'll do is try and use the tenant tomorrow as well and combine
Right.
multiple topics, because my initial focus in general, what we do is understanding is the key thing on the functional side of things. In security, just to wrap it up for you, what we have covered is looked at two key things, which is business process security, which is very specific to a function in certain functional area. Then the second part is the key security, where you have different security groups. So for an individual, you assign the security groups. Imagine that to be a membership of a person. For example, me being Raj, I want to access any gym, right?
Okay.
Imagine a scenario that gym access is the security group. Okay. In between that, there are different areas which I have access or I don't have access. For example, gym is very exclusive. It is selling spa is there, swimming pool is there, normal machines are there, and obviously there is a trainer as well. So these variations come into the picture. That's where different type of security groups or passes to the gym are there, where someone is having very limited access, someone is having very elevated access, right? So those changes, what we do is usage of functional areas and domains, and we identify those and create multiple ones. For example, just to wrap it up for your better understanding, HR partner, your company might have a HR partner which is a very basic junior kind of a person who's just handling transactions. For
Right.
him or her, the security might be very minimal, but there could be an additional security group which is HR partner, which is handling global operations. That security would be unconstrained one. There is no constrained one there. For example, a security group can be India specific, China specific, US specific, or there could be a global manager handling everything together, right? So that's where
Raj, I can't hear you.
Raj?
security, the variations come into the picture. Let's give you multiple gyms. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can.
Raj.
Sorry, I think, is it better now?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, certain gym memberships, coming to the example again, give you access to multiple gyms across the nation, right? You can have access to multiple areas. That's where unconstrained access is there. For example, you are based out of New York, only New York gym is there, then it is a constrained one. But within the states, every possible state, you can be based out of California, you can be in Arizona, you can be in Arkansas, anywhere. That's where unconstrained one comes into the picture, or globally, right?
Okay.
So this is a wrap up which I wanted to give you in quick succession. Tomorrow, what we'll do is cover the connected topics together. Feel free to go through the content. And if you have any questions, we'll again use the session tomorrow, and we'll keep it channelized like you told. We'll focus on the key things which you need and not focus on the business process side of things, right? So we'll do that. Let's meet tomorrow, same time. And if there is again any deviation in your availability, please reach out to Dominic and we'll connect with him.
That is fine. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's it. Thank you.
Awesome,
Thank you,
Sunil.
Raj. Thank
Have
you,
a good
Pushpa.
rest of the day. Yep.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Enjoy the
Thank
weekend.
you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.